The birds both died.
Right, but then the kids were upset.
Like just a natural death.
Yeah.
It was their time.
Not because you were,
Um,
neglecting them.
or you know what? Maybe it was just one actually.
I thought it was one bird died and then you had to get its mate back.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it
Yeah.
was. It was Birdie Sanders.
Right.
He died, and so we went to the pet store to get a new one because Jude was so distraught.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the people are like, well, you really should have two because they die of loneliness. We're like, oh, no.
You were like,
Birdie
Birdie.
died of loneliness. Welcome to Friends on Purpose.
Where two friends talk about life, love,
And finding purpose.
Part 2.
Yeah.
We have a lot to get through, and you've put a lot of thought into this. So
Yeah, it seems important. And yeah, it's I think it's good that we're doing this. For me, it's kind of therapeutic in a way.
yeah,
Because it's making me revisit some things that either I just kind of forgot about, or there's a lot to it, and
I just want to. Yeah, I think that's like the understatement of the year. There's a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot to being in a cult and then leaving it.
yeah. Last episode we called sect education,
Yeah.
and I think that gave a really good example of like the underlying psychological struggle that Emily and I went through, and that I think many of the other members, experienced in their own way. But after listening to it back again, it was clear that it really didn't scratch the surface of, the depth of abuse that certainly other people experienced.
Sure.
And I do want to plug one resource, another podcast called Breakfast in Hell.
Mm-hmm.
If you look up the Sarah Davis episodes, there's 2 parts. Not to be confused with a different Sarah Davis I think he interviewed.
Yeah.
So there's
I made
there's
that
a Sarah
mistake.
Davis. Yeah, there's a Sarah Davis with 2 parts. And she was also a member of this group, and she tells her story, and it's very different from mine, and it's and she does an excellent job getting through all of it, and I would just encourage folks who are interested in these kinds of things to go give those episodes a listen, because it's again another perspective, and a very powerful story, I think, and what she's endured and how she's come out of it is very remarkable. So I would
And
say,
just, I think, underscores the point you're making, which is that you're always telling your own story, but that there are so many different experiences, even just within your own church, that I think that felt really important to you to just make sure that
yeah, this is my perspective. People experienced what we experienced in different ways, and it may not represent everybody's experience. So just want to make that clear that this is how I've interpreted my time in my culty church. But yeah, so like I would like to just kind of again give a broad overview.
Yep.
That hopefully explains the good, the bad, and the wackadoo.
Yeah.
Just the weird stuff. So, yeah. I'll get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I think it makes sense to start off with like explaining what kind of church I was in.
Yeah. Besides a cult.
Besides a cult. So it was a church.
Yep.
And I think people who go to church would find a lot of things very familiar, particularly of like the evangelical and Pentecostal flavor. We definitely leaned more towards Pentecostal in terms of like traditions, and so, but we were, I guess you would call us non-denominational, which means
Really?
we don't really and I may be getting this completely wrong, but this is what I've always thought, which means we don't subscribe to any particular denomination. So that in it of itself, I think, is like very with that kind of doctrine, like no doctrine, makes you even more susceptible to becoming cult-like, because it's basically you just get to pick and choose what you want to do.
Right.
You know, and there's no like real accountability within a network of churches. But we were very Pentecostal leaning.
I mean, music seemed to play a big role in your church. So we're talking
Yeah.
about minstrels.
So
What
worship.
else?
So I think worship was kind of like our staple, like
Mm-hmm.
our like what we were good at.
Yeah.
And this is the part where like I still have fond memories of like this part of the meetings, the communal aspect of like all singing together
Listen,
is like really powerful.
yeah, first of all, anyone who knows me, I am an absolutely horrible singer. I love singing in groups. And when people, like when I grew up Catholic and then I went to an Episcopalian church. When I first moved back to Vermont in like 2011, or not back to Vermont, when I moved to Vermont in 2011, I went to
Mm,
the Stowe Congregational Church there, the iconic Stowe
mm,
church.
mm.
Because when people are like, yeah, I was in my like 20s and they're like, why are you going to church? I was like, because I miss singing in groups. Like I
Mm.
missed group worship, I guess, or like
Yeah.
celebration in a way. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't about the readings from the Bible for me.
Right.
I was like, we're all standing here, like taking time to use our collective voices to create something really beautiful. And I like really
Uh-huh.
loved that. And I
Uh-huh.
tried to find it in church.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up talking about how I might come to your church.
Right. And how that was like, well, maybe not.
We were like, well,
uh,
you know what? No.
but it was special,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I think,
And
nothing can move me to tears faster than Amazing Grace being sung.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and what isn't like I find interesting because I like play it sometimes if I feel like I need to cry because it just moves me to tears in a beautiful
Yeah.
way. But also it's like the song itself, and when the like you get a version that you're just like, oh my gosh, that's so powerful. But what the
Uh-huh.
song is about is the feeling that you
Right.
have kind of when you're
Right.
like part of that, like almost like you relinquish control and you're just
Yeah.
like something
Uh-huh.
bigger than me is happening. And that you're right, I
Right.
don't think only happens in houses of worship, but it is a um practice and a focus to be able
Mm-hmm.
to kind of clear everything out and
Yeah.
accept those
Yeah.
moments where you're like, oh my God, like
Yep.
let me just Jesus take the wheel
Mm-hmm.
here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I grew up in that. Like that was my weekly experience from the day I was born.
yeah,
I mean, like I literally, that's what I knew, and
yeah,
that's where I found um, that kind of feeling. You know,
yeah.
it was very normal for me. But then there was like the single spontaneous song,
Right. Someone has
where we had
moved
like
to
this open mic
yeah,
up front, to where you would go up and you would sing a song that you felt was like a message from God for the church to listen to, or a message to God
yeah,
that you felt everyone needed to hear.
yep,
Sometimes it wasn't a song, sometimes it was a scripture or a prayer.
yep.
But it was just, that was another like normal part of the meetings. And then we would have like we'd have what we call the prophetic team,
Okay.
which was like a group of, 3 or 4 people who would just either prophesy something, either over our open mic. Um, sometimes members would say something in the mic, and then afterwards be like, wow, that was really prophetic, you know.
Like
Uh,
epic prophecy, bro.
yeah, kind
Yeah.
of, and it was really great when one of the leaders were like, that was really prophetic.
And you were
you were like,
like,
oh,
yeah,
thank you. I was prophetic
I
today.
nailed
Yeah. Yeah. But they would go around and like prophesy over people. And I remember
Okay, so
that being a
I need
really
more about the prophecies. Like what, like, because I'm
okay.
thinking
So
like Harry
prophecy,
Potter prophecies here, you know,
yeah.
like
So it was kind of like it was kind of like affirmations from God. So like
like
you
you are
know they would say
kind, you are
something.
smart,
They
you
would
are beautiful.
yeah, but they would say it in the voice of God. So
Hmm.
you know
You are
sometimes it
kind,
was
you
all
are smart, you are
yeah.
beautiful.
God wants you to know. It was like your psychic, you know. It's
Right,
kind of
yeah.
relaying a phone
Totally.
call message,
Totally.
you know.
Yep.
And so it was similar vibes in the sense that like it was meaningful in that way if you
Okay.
believed it.
Okay. Okay, so this that sounds all really nice. You told me about a time you got called before John.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah. So it
shitty,
was never
shitty
nice when John
prophecy.
prophesied.
Yeah.
it was at least over me.
Yeah.
You know, once I became an adult, it was just like anything he would say to me was basically like, "You're still a child. You need to grow up."
Yeah. He was just like,
So one time he was like, you know, I feel God has given me the permission to prophesy over anyone who wants to be prophesied over. And so I was like,
you were
okay,
like,
and everybody kind of yeah, like because prophecy is a good thing, right?
right,
You know,
love it, ready.
uh,
You
and
just
so everybody
you
lines
waddle
up.
up there.
Yeah, it's my turn. You know, it adds like hours to the meeting,
Oh my God.
and I'm not even joking.
Oh my God.
And so I got up there. He's like praying over me, you know, like speaking in tongues, which is another thing we did. You know, and then he got quiet, and then he just kind of sat there, and I'm like, "Key, like
Are
I
his
thought this
hands
was the
on you? Like what? How does
yeah." Usually he would lay. You
lay
know,
hands?
that's another thing. Laying on of hands.
Yeah,
You know, touching the person while you pray for them is
sure.
like you know I don't know some way of like transferring the
Energy, like
spirit of God. I
whatever.
don't know what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. um. Uh. And after like 5 minutes or so,
Which
he
is
kind of
just like
stands
that's a
up.
long time.
Yeah, it was. Especially after, you know,
Hours of
him just like saying
prophesying.
something, boom, boom, boom.
He
Yeah.
gets to you and he's like,
Uh,
could you say that again? Hold on. Maybe.
yeah.
Okay. And you're
And so
just like, are you
he looks
sweating?
at
Like, what are you doing? Like, I like, you're
yeah.
just like, shit.
He he basically he looks at me and then he looks at my dad who's also there because he kind of has like this group of people who's also kind of supporting him
Yeah.
in prayer or whatever.
Okay.
He's like, "So God spoke to me, but I think we should go in private with your dad because I don't want to embarrass you in front of everyone." He's like,
Okay.
"Okay." And so basically he says, "Well, you know, when we get over there, he's like, I saw you and you were in a child's onesie. You know the zip up onesies that little kids wear to bed and they got the feet?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I believe God is telling you that, you know, it's time to grow up. And you just need to unzip the onesie and step into your manhood."
What did you say? You were like, thank you. May I have
I,
another? Like,
I was like,
okay.
okay,
God,
you know.
God sent you an image of me in a onesie.
But that's what the prophecies are like, you know.
Oh,
It can
wow.
be that wacky.
Symbolic. Like, yeah.
Again, it's you know, it's like a psychic, you
Mystical.
know.
Yeah.
They can just
There's
make
some
shit up,
totally. They can just be like,
and
um,
because you're buying into
you
it,
want to
you
believe.
do somehow relate it to your life and
Totally.
why it applies, and
Totally.
you know. But this wasn't the only time he would speak to me like that, you
Yeah.
know. So it's like he always thought of me as
As a
like
child.
this dumb kid who just needs to grow up.
So let's talk a little bit about him in general.
Yeah, yeah. So John,
Because like he's a
John
huge
Maniotti.
character in this, but like
Yeah, and we keep throwing his name around. John Maniotti. He was a leader of this group from the very beginning. And you know, looking back, this is who he was. You know, he's a total narcissist, master of manipulation. He would hook you in all the classic ways, like the love bombing. You know,
yeah.
really lay it on thick with you know the gifts and the attention and the praise that you that any Christian would love to hear.
Yeah.
I think he also had, there were like he had like this edge to him to where he was kind of like the tough love guy,
Yeah.
like if you wanted to be serious about something, he was going to tell you,
Yeah.
he's going to be honest with you. And I think that appealed to a lot of people because this group of Christians really wanted to be serious about their walk with Christ.
Yeah.
And so to have a leader that wasn't afraid to tell you, you know, what you need to hear to further your walk with God,
But
I think was appealing.
you've explained it to me, and I would even, for those people out there who like don't identify with like your walk with Christ, they were
Yeah.
looking for a like clear path in a very murky world. And I think we can all
Yeah.
relate to that, where someone was like, I will tell you what the right thing to do is. Trust me.
Yeah.
And how fucking nice. Like
Yeah.
I
Right.
totally understand why that could feel
And
like
I think there's also the attitude of a lot of Christians just kind of being meh,
mm-hmm,
like you just come in for Sunday or you
right.
just come in on the holidays,
Yeah,
and it just seemed
cheesters.
really fake.
Yeah,
Yeah, or it just felt kind of like
mailing it in.
just right, exactly. So there's that it seemed that a lot of people just didn't want to be,
And this
they
was
wanted
you
to
like
be
you're like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it. Like,
right.
let's mean it.
Yeah. And so he was kind of the drill sergeant,
Yeah.
like make me a good soldier kind
Yeah.
of feeling,
Yeah.
that I think appealed to a lot of people. So
Yeah.
so he was able to get away with a lot, and people would like talk about him and how good a message that was and how
Yeah.
much and whatever he was saying, it was really resonating with them. And I remember as a kid, like I think I first met him when I was 5 or 6. It was definitely single digits.
Yeah.
um it's weird because it was like I remember thinking, man, this guy would be a good president, like of the United States. Like people like just listen to him
If
and
they just understood how perfect.
yeah. Yeah. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I never felt comfortable
Mm.
around him.
Mm.
There was never once that I felt like I could be myself,
Mm.
or that he wasn't gonna say something that was gonna either make me uncomfortable or confuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Which, having grown up in that, it just normalized that feeling.
Right, that
So
you
it
should
was
ignore
never a
that
red
feeling.
right, that
Yeah.
it was never a red flag for me, and
Yeah.
it was just like, oh wow, just the kind of the conditioning there.
So John, I don't know if you want to say this or not, but I think it makes sense too if you're comfortable and it's like your community, so you decide. But like, John's a sexual predator. John is an
Yeah.
abuser. John is
Uh-huh.
a dangerous and bad person. Like, we're not just like saying this is someone who is like kind of kooky. Like, he's a really
Kind of
dangerous
controlling,
person.
or
Yeah.
no, he was abusing drugs the whole time, which I
Mm-hmm.
found out afterwards,
Mm.
or after a while.
Yeah.
He was a creep. Looking back, how he treated, young girls.
Yeah.
I remember one time it really pissed me off, but he slapped Emily's butt,
Oh my God.
like really hard.
Ugh.
But she was only like 15, and so it was like pissed me the fuck off.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Right.
But he would do and say things to the girls that was like really, in hindsight, was like really creepy.
No, he's a
And
pervert.
again,
I mean,
I never.
he's a
Yeah.
bad person. He's a sexual
Yeah.
predator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's something I never experienced firsthand.
Yeah.
And it wasn't obvious to me, again, just having kind of grown up with kind of squashing those feelings and normalizing those weird behaviors.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was happening.
Yeah.
And like I said in the previous episode, I feel like I was luckier than than some. You know,
Yeah.
he definitely targeted specific people,
Yeah.
and just kind of demonized people, really.
Yeah.
And it was tough because, you know, we were all followers and contributed to that toxic culture. You know,
Yeah.
we were all kind of under his spell.
Yeah.
And you know, so there are a lot of things I regret,
Yeah.
like that I kind of that I definitely like contributed to the problem, you know, to that momentum.
Yeah.
um and so it's like that's the kind of stuff that still bothers me, you know. It's like I understand that, like, I was I was wasn't really given a chance, but
Yeah.
like at the same time it's like, well, I did that, you know,
Yeah.
whatever that might be.
Yeah. I don't I maybe this is just gonna sound like us like patting ourselves on the back, but I because we did our recent episode where I talked about me coming out, I've been thinking a lot about
Yeah,
how I didn't dwell on it long, but like I carried so much shame for outing
yeah,
that girl that I had like
yeah.
I was like obviously I was in a hurt place and being like hurt by homophobia or
Uh-huh.
whatever, but like I still did something that was really bad and I like feel awful about it. And it's like you can think
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I want to like give myself a break or like,
Mm-hmm.
just like be kinder to my younger self, but it still feels you're like, ooh, those are the
Yeah.
things that you kind of wake up in a cold sweat just being like, ugh. And
Yeah.
that's, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, like for me it was I remember one family decided to leave because
mm,
of how bad it was getting, and
mm,
they called John out on some things. And
wow.
I don't know how that went down. I
Yeah.
wasn't a part of that conversation, but it led to him telling the congregation that we needed to shun this family,
Oh,
to literally do not speak to them.
wow.
Um, and even for the kids to not speak to their kids,
Wow.
which was very difficult because I
Holy.
was in a class with this girl that we were good friends with, and all of a
Wow.
sudden I had to ignore her, you know?
You had to shun her.
And
Yeah.
I literally could, like, she would speak to me and I would have to just
Yeah, like,
not say
oh
anything.
my
Like,
God.
literally, like Amish shunning, you
Yeah,
know? Like,
totally.
and it
Wow.
was tough. And I kind of like, I just, you know, things like that
Yeah.
throughout my whole time there,
Yeah.
you know? And you kind of learned to like bend the rules so that you weren't such an asshole,
Yeah,
you know.
but you were living in
But at the
fear
same
then.
time, yeah, at the same time, we're all kind of, yeah. And so that's kind of the things that would happen. And
Yeah.
it wasn't constant, but it was definitely always possible. And
Yeah.
you'd never know when you'd have to, you know, he'd like, you need to go talk to so and so and, you know, get them right about this thing or that. And, you know, it would just be so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were lots of opportunities and lots of like wonderful things that our church did. It wasn't we were definitely isolated, but like when I first started going, they were very active in distributing food to our to our county,
Yeah.
to the needy,
Yeah.
to low income who people, you know, people who needed food. We would give it away for free.
Mm-hmm.
It
Usually
was a
like,
good experience in the sense that it was like a community. It was an outreach, you know, and
yeah.
it was something. It was a good deed that we were doing, to the point where I think we got a lot of recognition within the town as being like a great resource for folks.
Yeah.
Um, and
And a cult.
and as and but as a young kid, it's like that part I wasn't quite in tune with. It
Yeah.
was just like, this is my church. We hand out food every other week,
Yeah.
and it got me outside of my world,
Oh,
and it
sure.
was like a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, we do other things, like we would do concerts. Again, we had a lot of musical talent, so we would put on concerts that weren't that popular because they're Christian concerts and people aren't into
It's
that, you know.
amazing
Right.
how you love
Right.
me.
Yeah. And so I was never up on stage, really. I was always just there to help, and it was something new, and it was kind of fun. We do community meals, so
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't know, like Thanksgiving meals,
Yeah.
or, you
It's
know,
not like you're saying it. Like it's outreach. It's like you're improving your community.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the camaraderie that happened
Yeah.
within there. So that's what I really loved,
Yeah.
like working together with my friends,
Yeah.
um,
To do something
and
bigger
really
than
creating.
yourself.
yeah, and creating something excellent. And, uh, again, you can find that in sports. You can find that in, but this was
Sure.
my world. So I was finding these things and
Yeah.
I really loved them.
Look no further than I think like the people that are still in your life are in your life still
Hmm.
because there were some core values that you all shared that transcended John's abuse. And those things are
Yeah.
like why I love you and why like people are drawn to you because
Mm.
they actually are. There was a Venn diagram overlap where yeah, there were some
Right.
things that were going on that were awful in the church and that were John's poisoning of it, but there were some things that
Hmm.
you really believed and that you still believe now. And I think that's kind of some of the work you did in therapy was to like
Yeah.
categorize and be like, what's real, what's not, what's good,
Hmm.
what's bad. You had to kind of like come up with a
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
categorization for it all.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Therapy was huge for me in kind of salvaging what I could.
So, okay.
Should we move on?
Well, let's just like all right. So you've talked about kind of like the kind of church that this was, which
Hmm.
was helpful. You talked about some of the idiosyncrasies that were born of it not being any one religion. So it was like the cult of personality. Then that was John, and we talked a little about that John sucks and John's turd and John is the
Mm.
worst, and some examples of that. I'm personally, I can never get enough of the hill, the sanctuary, the property. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck was
Yeah.
going on? Excuse my language. Like, you guys bought it at a like nonprofit rate. I'm mad about that. It's beautiful. It's still John still owns it. The church still owns it. There's no church. John still owns
No.
it.
No. John sold it.
John sold
John
it.
sold it.
Okay.
It's now
Okay.
owned.
But John got the
Some guy bought
proceeds.
it. John got the proceeds and bought himself a different piece of property,
Cool.
and
Love
now
that.
is living with his new wife,
Nice.
and just kind of rotting away in North Troy, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Uh,
That's right. North Troy. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
the property.
We bought the property, right?
And that was you
And
said
that was
98?
short.
Is that?
98 or 99, shortly
Yeah.
after my family started attending this church.
Okay.
Um, and it was meant to be like a place of a place where we could freely practice our faith, because we were constantly renting out um, spaces like the Grange. That was our main meeting place, but we didn't own the building.
Right.
Um, we were going to different campgrounds every year, so there would be like 60 to 80 people going to these campgrounds, taking over basically,
Mm-hmm.
and turning it into a big church event.
Yeah.
We always had a big tent,
Oh my God. I
to
would
where
have
we would,
been so bummed if I
yeah,
rolled up
yeah,
for my annual
ruining
summer
all the other
camping trip and
campers'
I was like,
experiences.
they won't
But it
stop
also,
singing about
I think
Jesus.
it also, I think it also kind of limited us as to what we were allowed to do.
Oh, interesting.
And so I think the argument was, if we had our own property, we could
We can
just
do whatever we want.
do whatever we wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it became a place to where we would meet every Sunday, once we had a building to meet in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it wasn't a building. For a while, we were meeting under a tarp,
Where?
during
In
the
town?
summer.
In Mooresville?
No, on the
Oh,
property.
on the property. Oh, when you bought it. Yeah, got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Under a tarp.
And so we'd have our annual summer camps there. We would, have holiday events and weekend gatherings and
Okay.
stuff like that. And we could just do it on the fly because we had a space now, it was
Yeah.
ours. And it was also meant, I believe it was meant to be a retreat for church members. People were invited to build up there and to have,
Like
more or less
camps?
either a second home or like cabins.
Yeah.
Some were more glorified than others. It was meant to be like a safe haven for times of crisis.
Yeah.
Like when the world is ending, we would be able to retreat to this property because it was so remote.
I want to also direct you to please, when you talk about developing the land, actually put into terms what that meant for you, just as one single individual, like what it meant for your life daily, because you were there a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Um, from age 15, probably, well, 13 or 14 to, I, I definitely stopped going every week when I was 37, 30,
So it's been a minute, but
oh, a little, yeah. But I was there every Saturday, all day Saturday, usually an 8 to 10 hour day of hard labor. It was woods, and so we ended up clearing by hand for the most part. Um, we started up there with axes and we're chopping down trees.
why? Because there was just no power, or because that was like God's
There
will.
was no clearings to build something. You couldn't just
But why didn't? Because why
the
didn't you have
woods,
like heavy duty equipment? It's just
because we had to
expensive.
walk in 3 miles.
Because there was no
There
road.
wasn't there wasn't even vehicle access.
Yeah,
So for the first 3 years, we're literally hiking in um, garden tools
yeah,
to clear the land.
yeah.
And there are a couple of chainsaws, but like everyone else had an axe, so we were chopping down trees all day long, and we would haul brush. We'd create these huge piles of tree brush and burn them, and that would take years,
Yeah.
literally years.
Yeah.
And it eventually became a working sheep and goat farm.
Yeah.
We had a couple of horses. We'd have pigs every now and then. We're always, um, 100 chickens and ducks and geese and
D-Gus.
whatever else. Yeah. you know, so we were constantly building barns, sheds, houses,
And the
outhouses.
point of all of this again is like to go back to what you were talking about before is like, well, now you have a safe space to practice in whatever way you want to
Right.
without prying eyes.
We had a self-reliant working
Yeah.
farm that could sustain a group of people without ever needing to go back into town. That was the goal.
Yeah.
We were still dependent on gasoline and
Sure.
propane or
But John was a
whatever else.
prepper.
But
John, I mean, you guys were
John
prepping
was a
for the
prepper.
end
John,
times.
yeah, he was an end times enthusiast. He was a survivalist.
Yeah. But not
Eventually
like a
became
cool
one.
one like Bear Grylls.
No,
Yeah.
no. He purchased a survivalist forum around the time of 9/11,
What's a survivalist
and
forum?
it's like an internet
Oh,
forum.
like a forum. Like
Yeah,
he purchased the domain.
yeah, yep. It had already existed,
Oh, yeah.
but he purchased it from whoever,
Yeah.
and it blew up after 9/11 because everyone's like in panic,
Right.
and so I think that really, from what I could tell, that really kicked things off in terms of this is now going to be a survivalist space. So he kind
Yeah.
of turned it into his own personal like prepper paradise. And so for me, a young man is kind of in high demand.
Sure, your
It's
labor.
yeah, yeah, and it was often just that that side of it was taken advantage of. There was very little communication in terms of like there's never any thank yous. There was never any you know any communication. You go up there and do the work and you wouldn't see John all day. you know you were just given orders by somebody he talked to the day before, or we were given a list that was printed out on a piece of paper and we'd have to do it. And
All
so
for his benefit.
there's that. Yeah, yeah.
So,
um
with it being like a prepper's paradise, like John's special safe haven, when did it cross over into like religious gun culture, like,
yeah, so at some
whatever?
point so as part of his like end times philosophy or whatever you want to call it, he had opened up a gun shop, which I think was funded by one of his rich buddies. I don't know if he was connected to the forums at all or how they met, but like he was given an opportunity to do this to make some money off of it, I think, and it was also benefiting this other guy, um, and so we ended up converting John's living room in town in Morrisville. So the property's out in the sticks.
Yep.
You know, everyone lives in Morrisville, 45 minutes away.
Right.
And so we converted that into a gun shop. So it's basically his living room, which is, you know, you can access through the side door, which is what the front door of the shop. And was, you know, properly like locked off to the rest of the house.
Yeah, like it was converted to actually be a shop.
Yeah, to be a real shop, but it was, and it wasn't just like hunting guns. It was like
handguns,
all kinds of military.
Oh my gosh, like semi-automatic weaponry, like
ARs, AKs. I mean, all the works. Like,
where was he sourcing these guns from? So he had to be a licensed gun shop, so that was like official.
Yeah, yeah. I think he obtained the licenses he needed to.
Did people in town go nuts?
Who was funding it?
Like, were people?
It definitely didn't help our reputation.
Yeah, people were like, "Oh, great! Now the crazy cult has guns."
We were already marked a cult, right? I mean,
yeah.
And this just kind of sealed the deal,
Totally.
and it made it much harder to like navigate when, you know, it was the kind of thing that I would just keep hidden. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't say I was part of this group,
right?
You know, just to avoid the awkward conversations.
What year was that? So, when did he buy that? When did the gun shop open?
It was early 2000s, so I think it was only open for like 5 or 6 years. I don't know, 2005.
Okay.
6, 7. It was like when I was in college.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit after. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And so I was in college at the time, and I wasn't really invited into that space much.
Yeah.
And I didn't really fit that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really kind of the go-to guy. I was the child, right?
The child in a onesie with long hair.
But that shop and the end time survivalist mentality started bleeding into the church.
Yeah.
So we were inviting survivalists up to the property to teach us how to survive in the woods.
Yeah.
It was a lot of Boy Scout kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, building a shelter, learning how to light a fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, handle a knife and also handle a gun. You know.
Right.
Groups of us were being trained on how to safely handle a firearm, you know, which isn't necessarily a bad thing to learn, but when you couple it into your church and your religion, it starts to become something more than that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like this was a backwoods kind of people. Like everybody was hunting.
Yeah.
All the kids were taking hunter safety course just as like a normal part of New England, you know, life.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of adjacent to that. So it wasn't that hard to like sign on to that.
Yeah, because it was part of the culture and you were doing it as a group and it felt like...
Right.
Didn't feel like you were doing anything wrong.
To me...
Yeah.
Yeah, to me it got weird when they had like this militant kind of training.
Oh yeah, you said they brought in like a former military specialist.
Yeah, they brought some former military guys to basically learn how to defend the property.
You're like, from what?
Right. Yeah.
Definitely ATF.
And again, it wasn't like I was. Now I'm more critical of it, but then it was just like you couldn't voice the weirdness.
Yeah.
You know, you were trained to not
question.
Yeah. And it's kind of scary to think because there's groups like this out there
all over the place.
We weren't. Yeah, and probably even more unstable than we were. You know.
Yeah.
So it got to be that extreme. Again, I missed out on a lot of that.
Yeah.
I lost my earbud.
Just jumped out.
Yeah, I guess so.
It was just like, no.
all this
John. So I mean, yeah, and you couldn't say like, no, I'm not doing my like shift this weekend. That wasn't an option. So you just
that would be you would just be,
That was bad.
and it wasn't just John. It was like it was the whole culture. Like
Yeah.
if you decided to not go up to the property to help,
You'd hear about it.
you would be shamed.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of, you know, you just couldn't say no to things. Even the thought of leaving, you know,
Yeah.
once things started becoming like, why are we doing this? Or
Yeah.
like, you couldn't just leave because it meant you would be losing. Well, for me, like my whole family's there. Emily's whole family's
You
there.
lose
You know,
everything, your whole community.
we would be excommunicated. We wouldn't be spoken to. You know,
Can
it,
I ask, and
it may not be that official shunning, but that's what it would feel like. And
what
also like our community support structure would be non-existent. It
you
would be like literally moving to a different country to leave this group. Is how it would feel.
So
It
the
was,
property, I mean, now we know what happened to it, but I imagine that you got to a point where you felt really negative about that space, or did like when you said like eventually it was not really that welcoming anymore.
it was always tough. It was always a struggle, but it was in the guise of what we call dying to yourself.
Yeah,
You were sacrificing the things you wanted for the sake of God's plan,
yeah,
which was at this point in time helping out on the property.
yeah.
And if you weren't dying to yourself, you were not being that good Christian. You know,
Dying
you're
to
doing what you wanted to
yourself.
do. Right. It's a biblical term,
Dying to yourself.
which meant for a lot of people not going to college, meant for a lot of
Right.
people not pursuing their passions, you know, or the things that they felt were truly meaningful.
Yeah,
And so a lot of people were you know, quite frankly, duped, or I don't know how to, cheated
yeah.
out
Opportunity or
of and opportunities that would have been wonderful for them.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. I don't think we meant to do this, but like chronologically now, like we're kind of getting to the like pinnacle and the arc in the fall, not the
Yeah.
autumn, but the fall of the church. So
Yeah.
so what were some of the things that started to get a little bit too far afield? What did you notice, and when did that really start to turn into where you were like, hold the phone, and COVID happens and you guys are like, whoa, what talk about that?
The property got to the point where it was like, we can't develop anymore, or else we just can't maintain it. It was already at that point. It
Yeah.
was like too much to take care of.
Yeah.
So, you know, the people who bought into this idea were getting older. They couldn't handle a full day of hard labor
Mm-hmm.
like they did 15, 20 years prior.
Yeah.
So it was kind of left up to the younger people to maintain, you know, and we're talking about acres of property to just mow,
Yeah.
to mow the lawns, you know,
Yeah.
to harvest, you know, 2 acres of potatoes, to do all these things. And it was wearing people out.
Yeah.
And it was also, we're entering this season of like learning about our quote unquote heritage.
What does that mean?
Like I said in the beginning, we're kind of Pentecostal bent,
Yeah.
you know, so we believed a lot of, so Pentecostal is basically comes from the New Testament, the day of Pentecost, when, you know, Jesus had died, risen again, ascended to heaven. He left his disciples behind to spread the good word,
Yeah.
the good news. The day of Pentecost, the Spirit descends upon them, and they would speak in tongues. They were, you know, the tongues of fire, not like, were descended on them as like chosen,
Yeah.
as like the chosen apostles. Now the disciples have become the apostles. They're going to be the, you know, the next generation to pass on the message.
Yeah.
And all kinds of miraculous signs and wonders happened during that time.
Yeah.
Okay. So like healing, speaking spontaneously in different languages,
Yeah.
to be able to spread the gospel, speaking in tongues, I think, which is more like kind of heavenly gibberish. Um, uh, Healings, miraculous healings, miracles in general. You
Yeah.
know, like like Jesus did by like multiplying food to feed
Mm-hmm.
everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and then like casting out demons, and like I said, healing, second, even resurrection. You know, raising people from the dead. Those were all things we believed. And it was part of our what we call the heritage, and so there was like this big push to like really dive into that, and so I remember there
Did
were,
you ever
and this,
resurrect anyone?
no, that we never came across a dead person. We
Oh,
probably would have tried.
yeah. Oh no.
I'm not even joking.
Oh no.
If we had a cadaver, we probably would
You'd
have
be
prayed
like,
for it.
hold on, we've got this. We've been practicing.
Right. We've been practicing. Essentially, yeah. But like John, like, and this was at a time of like complete exhaustion. You know, we are all stretched.
You're
thin.
working to the
So we're
bone
already,
at the
like,
property. You're going to like
we're already like
long ass services because
yeah,
he's
while working full-time jobs
right.
and raising thousands of children,
Right.
right? Because that
and
was another thing.
homeschooling them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Oh, and
So,
trying to
we're already
not channel the spirit of Jezebel and
Ahab.
It's
Yeah.
full-time work.
So he decides that he's going to start teaching us these things. And I remember, and there were some cases like it started where I remember it starting was like it was during one of our home fellowships, or it might have been one of the young leaders meetings. I don't remember what it was, but
I remember Emily saying it was like you guys did Sunday. There was something Monday. There was nothing Tuesday, but something Wednesday and Thursday
right.
and optional Friday. And
Yeah.
then Saturday was like
Yeah.
spend time with your family. It was just like
Yeah.
it's like football on
Yeah.
TV. There's Monday night football. There's
Right.
Thursday night football. There's college football. There's Sunday night football.
But you're the one playing football.
Yeah, but you're the yeah. Every single one of those days.
You're not just sitting on your
Right,
couch.
right.
Yeah, we were just exhausted emotionally, mentally,
Yeah.
physically,
Spiritually.
we were worked to the core.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he decides that he's going to teach us how to heal.
Oh. How convenient.
So he I think he actually used the term like parlor trick healing.
Which is like not a parlor trick, I believe, is like it's a sleight of hand.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not what he was using it as. He was using the term in a way that was like, this is just easy stuff.
Oh, okay.
Easy
Child's
stuff
play.
that
Anyone can
that
do.
the beginner healer could do.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't take much faith.
Okay.
And so he sat someone down and basically said that I don't know, he like grew their leg out so that they were the same length, because I guess that's a common problem for some folks. Sure. That one leg is shorter than the other. It can cause
hip dysplasia, all sorts of issues. Sure.
Right. And so
commonly people put a lift in their shoe for that, but John could heal it.
Right. And he claimed he did, and I believe the person also claimed that they were better. So it's like, great. Okay.
You're like,
praying over small things like, ear infections or colds or, normal little sicknesses.
Yeah.
Back pain or whatever was like another thing. He'd also taught us that like he was special because whenever he would lay your hand on you, a little bit of oil would come out of his palm as like anointing oil or something. And then he's like, see, my hand is wet now. It's like, it's oily. Feel it. And it's just like, what? That was weird to me. And so this was where, because we're so exhausted, we're just like,
okay. Yeah.
We're buying into it, but at the same I shouldn't say we. I'm buying into it, but at the same time, it's also like, what?
You're like, quick question. Back to the oil on your palms.
Yeah.
Why that?
Don't touch me. you know?
Okay,
And
wait.
so
No, you have
there,
to go. We're in the home fellowship. He's doing these parlor tricks. I need to hear the demon story.
okay, so it was a couple of nights. Sometimes it was like a major healing. Sometimes it was demon possession. Um, or if we're not calling it a demon, it's a spirit of ailment.
Okay.
You know, it's a spirit
Something's wrong.
of a demonic thing that's doing something to your body that is manifesting itself in some sort of sickness.
Yeah.
So it's not a virus, or it's not like a scientific biological thing. It's Satan
Spiritual.
in your body, and
Yeah.
we need to get it out, and then you'll be healed. You won't have that ailment anymore.
Yeah.
Things like that. And so what I remember was he came down from the hill, which was special because he doesn't do that very often.
Gonna stay comfy in
And
his resort.
he came in to show us all, you know, God told him that, you know, he's given him this power to pray over this person, and again, with the love bombing, you make them feel special, you make them feel chosen, and like set them up for, you know, success in terms of making this thing right.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that anything inappropriate happened. It was just highly emotional and a lot of hype.
Like a
And
show.
so what
It
he
was
would
a
do is
spectacle.
yeah, exactly. And he would lay his oily hand on a person, and he would sit them in the middle, and he'd say, "I don't want any of you to touch this person, you know, because for danger of receiving that spirit into your body, you know, physical touch can do that."
Right.
And so he's like playing it all up, and he asks us to participate by speaking in tongues, you know. So if you have that gift,
Yeah.
to speak in tongues, which is kind of our heavenly language,
Right.
which is also kind of a hysterical kind of thing too. And now that I think about it, like, and that wasn't just us. That's
Yeah.
Pentecostal
Yeah.
to the core. So he starts hollering, you know, and
In tongues.
and yeah, in tongues, and then we are also participating. So there's like this weird like buzz.
Yeah.
The way the sound all kind of comes together. It sounds like bees.
Yeah.
You know.
Because everyone's
And,
kind of like just like
yeah,
making noise.
yeah, it's like gibberish.
Yeah.
It sounds, you know, to somebody who is not familiar with it, it might sound like, you know, the Minions.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, it sounds kind of like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Or it might sound like a different language, you know,
Yeah.
like Arabic or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
pick a
Christianese.
language. Yeah. And so he goes on for probably 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah. And what happens is the whole room is just heightened in terms of just like this emotional thing,
Yeah.
you know? And people are trying to, there's like, from what I've heard from others who remember this experience, it was like, yeah, you know, part of me was just like, I wish this was over,
Yeah.
you know, or like, this person speaking in tongues next to me is really annoying
Yeah.
because they're doing it wrong, you know, or, you know,
Keep
like
spitting on
they're
me.
not being, yeah. Yeah. But then I, you know, for me, there was like moments of that. Like I was
Yeah.
kind of in and out of that.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to believe that it was happening, but then there was like this push and pull of like,
I'm bored.
and in the moment, I think it was like, I'm feeling like I'm doubting or I'm not having enough faith, you know? So I have to like focus so that there's enough
We
faith
can
in
do
this
it.
room that causes this miracle to happen.
You don't want to be
you
the
know?
reason this person doesn't get exercised.
Right. And so, but I do remember, I don't know if he said like be gone or like, but he like all of a sudden just after hollering this gibberish language, he like points to the chair across the room. He's like, be gone, you know? And we were all like, whoa. And we're just like, what the fuck was that? And then he keeps going, and then you kind of start to hear his language change, like the quote unquote
Yeah.
words. Um, and it eventually calms down, and then he kind of brings the starts speaking to the room again,
Yeah.
like as
Like he's
like,
back.
okay,
He's
now I'm
present.
back into my teaching
Yeah.
moment. And he's like, and he kind of evaluates the whole thing, and he would ask leading questions like, did you notice that my voice was changing? Like, I feel like, like I believe I was speaking a Native American language, and this spirit had something to do with an ancient spirit, an ancient demonic spirit of that culture, um, and in speaking in that tongue was helping draw it out.
And
Things
you
like
guys were
that.
like, yes,
Um,
totally. Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Again, we're just like
You're like,
trying to
I
like
need mac and cheese. I'm
he's
hungry.
gonna go
Let's
home.
go.
Yeah, yeah. But it was again, it was very emotional, very hyped up.
Yeah.
It was a show.
That was kind of the like fringe stuff that was like, whoa.
Yeah,
You were
yeah, that
like,
was very French,
eh.
and that was very few and far between. But it heightened toward the end, like the last, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years.
So this is all like you said towards the end it was declining. Like how many years before the pandemic? Because the pandemic was really when things blew up.
Right. So the pandemic. So this was probably 2 or 3 years before the pandemic. So probably like 2017 to 1920.
Okay.
Um, Once the pandemic hit, that was when we all kind of had space for the
Yeah.
first time ever
Yeah.
to just breathe.
Yeah.
Activity at the land didn't stop, but it definitely
Slowed down.
lessened. That's when I stopped going.
Yeah.
Was like 2019, and then definitely by 2020, it was just like
Nope.
it was now the pressure to be there wasn't on as hard, and I also had the excuse of work overload,
Yeah.
which was totally untrue.
Sure.
I had I was doing way
Yeah.
less because I was stuck at home,
Yeah.
right? Uh, but I had that, and so I used that to just not
Yeah.
go, and everybody, was finally able to just talk,
Yeah. Like you
um,
said, you had space.
and yeah, we weren't telling on each other, and
Yeah.
we kind of we began to form. Well, everyone kind of had their person they could
Mm-hmm.
trust,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about those things, but I think those groups grew a little bit, to where uh, we could talk frankly and voice those things with much less concern about it getting to John.
Yeah.
We were realizing, how toxic this culture was, and so we decided, the particularly the younger folks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the older folks because I wasn't in those circles anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they did they did kind of separate our home fellowship groups
Mm-hmm.
to where we're more in line with our peers
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, and I think that kind of caused a divide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know for me and my peer group, we were like we were still valuing the things that meant something to
Mm-hmm.
us, like I was talking about in the beginning, but that we did want some real change in the culture.
Well, and there was
And
a time
so,
where you wanted to be part of the change before you realized that you had to abandon the whole
yeah,
thing.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So uh, I was told that if I wanted to speak, as part of the sermons, go, that I could.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't asked to,
Yeah.
and I was very hesitant at first because it's like, hell no,
Yeah.
to be you would be under the microscope
Yeah.
for sure, because John would see that, would know that,
Right.
and the fact that he wasn't in it as much as as little as he was, like, it was just like, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
But I decided to, because I understood that that I would be safe because because it was Emily's dad.
Yeah.
He was also on board with us.
Right.
So he was helping facilitate that change. Yeah. And so, and there's a lot of weird like dynamics that were hard, but like I knew that if I had his ear, that I would be safe to go up and speak things. Mm-hmm. And so I would. I mean, there's actually a clip of me talking about gender roles and how we're interpreting this all wrong, you know? And I even gave the example of me and Emily saying, we're not going to do this. Yeah. And I said that in front of the whole congregation. Yeah. And I'm looking at the young folks, they're like, mm-hmm. And I'm looking at the old folks and they're just like scowling. Yeah. Not all of them. I don't want to lump everybody had their own thing, right? And there's clearly a divide between generations, mm-hmm. but I could tell the difference between the people who were agreeing with me, the people who weren't, and people who were just like, hey, whatever. Yeah. And so it did become clear eventually. It was probably a year. I spoke once a month for a year, and I was also leading a home fellowship, mm-hmm. Which essentially meant we opened our home to meet. Yeah. We were meeting in my living room. Yeah. And that became Emily and I wanted that to be a safe space mm-hmm. for the people who came to our meetings. Like, you're safe here. You can say what you want. And I really hope that was the case. Yeah. And so that was my way of like, okay, what can I do? You know, that was the thing keeping me there, right? It was just like, maybe there is hope. Maybe we can turn things around and we can make this that meaningful church life that we want. Yeah. But with as much division as there was, it was clear that it was you couldn't salvage it. Yeah. And it was just clear that we needed to shut it down. So, however we came to that, it was a one final meeting to where it was like, this is it. Leadership stepped down. If anyone wants to take over, be my guest. But I think ultimately nobody did. Yeah.
And that was painful. You're tying it up with a nice bow, but that was a huge fracture.
It was painful in the sense that it's like, what do I do now? Right. Right. I've never known anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered a lot here.
A lot.
Which, how are you
it feels
feeling?
Weird to talk about, like, to say it all out loud, because I know I've said it in bits and pieces, but yeah, sometimes it, like, when I talk about like the really outrageous things, sometimes I feel stupid. Like, how did that ever feel? How did I ever tolerate that? In hindsight. But at the same time, it's like, well, I know exactly how that happened.
Yeah. You've touched on quite a few things that kind of kept you there. And I mean, there's like some positives, but then there's also fear of losing your family. It's like, you don't have to feel silly. But I think maybe we'll do something a little different tonight. Like, let's land our plane, but instead of talking about stuff we've been doing lately, why don't you just kind of wrap this up in a way that feels good to you? Like, how do you want to end this whole big thing?
All right, let's land this plane. There is so much like weirdness and like stuff that was bad, but there are things that I miss. Not the stuff that was like very churchy. Yeah. But like the cancer walks, there were parts of that felt really good. Yeah. And I think a large part of that was like the camaraderie. Yeah. The closeness, the teamwork, the connection I had with my friends in doing something that was really hard. Yeah. And doing it really excellently. Yep. Really putting time and care, blood, sweat, and tears. It felt really good. Yeah. And and that's something I haven't
over and over and over again.
I haven't looked for that necessarily, just because it's like I need a break. Right. But I do miss like that feeling you know?
Yeah.
Um, and then there's like this sense of belonging that I kind of, it kind of aches. Like there's this, like Christianity runs deep just in history and culture.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not the Christianese, but there is this kind of language, this trace of faith
Hmm.
that runs through music, you know, like even like folk music or bluegrass music, or
Yeah.
you know, the old hymns. Um, you're saying like Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
There was like a deeper connection than just like that emotional side to it. Like there was a lot more meaning built in
Mm-hmm.
that I just don't feel anymore
Yeah.
because it's been soiled.
Yeah.
You know, it's been ruined. Like I can't connect to the faith side of it
Mm-hmm.
anymore. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's been totally um,
Co-opted
I don't
by
know.
that experience.
Yeah, you know, so it's like I can't enjoy those those things anymore. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that was taken away from me, and I miss it.
Yeah.
You know, um, like even like Christmas songs.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not the depth to Christmas anymore,
Yeah.
and I wish I could have that again. You know, that's kind of the depth of the missing part.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's like I'm finally free. I can live my
Yeah.
life, and 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 that's been wonderful, and it far outweighs the things that I
Yeah.
miss. Um, but then there's things that I'm still learning,
Mm-hmm.
like it took me a hot second to like figure out that it's okay to feel lost.
Yeah.
Like that's not that's not like a unique position.
Or like a
Um,
moral failing.
right,
Yeah.
right. You know, and so just being okay with that
Yeah.
feeling, it's like that's perfectly all
Yeah.
right. Um, and therapy has helped with a lot of that.
Yeah.
And like that's high on my list.
Mm.
It's like therapy. Go to therapy.
Everybody go to
Not
therapy.
only I first went to again sort out the good from the
Yeah.
bad, which was very helpful.
Yeah.
Especially in moving forward.
Yep.
It's like there are still core things that have remained and I still live by.
Yeah.
And I can take those good things. The theme of love in particular
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be defined by religion
Mm-hmm.
or God or Christianity in any sense.
Yeah.
It can still be a compass for me, and it has always been. You know, even in those toxic situations, love has been that defining thing, that intuition inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
That like if I can follow that, I'm I can trust that.
Yeah.
You know, that's been a foundational thing for me.
Yeah.
And therapy helped me see that.
Yeah.
But also therapy helped with like just understanding things like I think we mentioned it before, like being fat is not
Moral.
moral.
Yeah.
You know, it just means I turned 35 and my metabolism changed.
Yeah.
So I need to think about my
Yeah.
diet, you know,
Yeah.
things like that. And I see a lot of that, you know, things like that were damaging for me and a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people had
Eating disorders.
had eating disorders because of the way, you know, we were taught to think.
Oh, yeah.
And that takes time to like work yourself out of.
Totally.
And therapy helps with that.
Yeah.
You know, and all the things that cause us stress and you know, like discontentment or I
Shame
don't know how you'd
or
want to
whatever.
put it.
Yeah.
Shame or yeah. Therapy is a really good tool.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I was able to do that.
Access it.
And again, I can still follow love. You know, that's the needle on the compass.
Yeah.
And it's never, you know, it guided us out of some major things, like I mentioned in the previous episode. It preserved Emily and I's relationship, and it still is.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about, the spiritual high of worship. You know, those kinds of things you can find elsewhere. So in a bazillion different places.
Yeah.
And you know, finding those places has been kind of where I'm finding meaning
Yeah.
and finding joy.
Yeah.
We talked about my letterpress studio
Yeah.
and how healing that's been for me.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I see my friends finding things like that,
Yeah.
and it's really
Getting to unfold a little.
yeah, and see, and I can, that's brought me a lot of joy too, is like just seeing my friends be themselves.
Yeah. It's been all right, I guess.
It's been all right, I guess. It's been a
Deprogramming from
few
the cult
years
has been fun, I guess. Like, yeah, would recommend.
I would recommend
Yeah.
it. If you're
13
in
out
a
of
cult,
10.
maybe leave.
Yeah. So it's going to be okay.
Try doing it yourself.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
so you just bore your soul, so thank you for sharing that. And I think the whole what I'm thinking of when you're saying that, like, you can find these things in a million different ways, and I guess, like, you and I have always come to the same conclusions, but from really different ways because of our backgrounds and our experiences. But I think that is something I really value, is that, you have always had a really deep understanding of self, even though you were abused in these ways by this cult. So, there's a lot of like essential good Eric in there, and it's been fun to watch you unfold and figure out these things that you're like, yeah, that thing, like, that wasn't yours. This thing, that's yours. Hold on to it. Yeah. All right. Well, we've been talking for 2 hours, so we do really, I think we owe it to the world to stop at some point. I think what we're heading towards is, like, we're wrapping up what we would call the end of our first season in the next episode or two. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I think I think that's where we'll just leave it. We're kind of coming around the corner, and and we're really thankful that everyone was hanging with us, and
For sure.
we're gonna kind of reflect on what sharing both of these stories, like both Eric's high control church group cult story and, like, my coming out story, just kind of like, those were just snippets of who we are and how we came to be where we are today, and why we love our friendship so much, just because it just came from such left field for both of us. So more on that later. And yeah, definitely, this is a shameless plug. Like and subscribe and comment and, like, do all those things, because it definitely helps with our reach.
Rate
and review. Yeah, that helps us out.
That's very helpful.
Helps us out.
For sure. All right.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
You want to do it again?
Yeah, we're definitely going to do it again. Season 2.
All right. Let's go. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Woo.
All right.